La, welcome to the players' lab. Yeah, when no other moment, man, it can't compare.
The 48-hour rule is now in effect. Everybody, welcome back to another edition of the UteNation Podcast. It's again relatively new. Everybody knows that. Everybody's been jumping on the bandwagon. We've seen it. We've noticed it. We really appreciate all the love that we've been getting from everybody. Want to keep encouraging everybody, like, subscribe to every platform that we're on, and just keep enjoying the ride with us. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger. So, well, guys, it's Texas Tech Week. And for the ones that are watching this on video as opposed to any just straight up audio, there is a familiar face on the screen here that not everybody gets to hear from as much. And so we're really, really looking forward to this. So as usual, I'm joined by Tuimauga, Zack Moss. Pleasure having you boys back. And one of the goats before Zack could ever goat, Kevin Dyson. Kevin, pleasure having you on here, man. Thank you for jumping on.
Yeah. I think that was an easy way to say I'm old, homie. If that just mean I'm old.
Hey, then I'm saying I'm old because I still remember all your games, man. So you are an absolute legend.
And you was a kid. And you was a kid when I was playing. That's what's even worse.
I remember the Music City Miracle, and I was like, I think I was like 9 or 10, but I still remember that to this day, and like that was crazy. And then today, Alex sends over the clip of like, hey, this was a big game that Kevin played. And then against Colorado State, and I saw the date. I was like, 94. Gosh, damn, I'm young still. I don't even know if Zack was born, to be honest with you, Zack.
I was nowhere being thought of. I was 3 years down the road.
We got you, man. That's crazy.
Yeah, they killing you. They killing you right now.
I got a kid older than Zack.
So for everybody listening and watching this, Kevin jumped on his phone. He was having difficulty getting getting our StreamYard platform to be able to work with his browser. So if it cuts in and out here and there, we just appreciate him jumping on. So again, man, thank you for taking the time. But man, dude, so when it comes to Utah football, you were a part of the team that really kind of changed that culture. You were a freshman on the team that really changed that culture.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so from, just being able to, witness the evolution as a freshman to a senior and then seeing everything now, how proud are you to see where this program has come?
Man, I can't even express how proud I am, especially being in SEC country all these years, man, and just kind of say, man, we play some football out west as well. Back in 94 to 97, we was trying to gain respect. Now perennial top 25 team, and Whit, who was on that coaching staff when I was playing, that's how long he's been there. He actually recruited me out of high school. That's how old he is. And coming from that and what Whit and all them have done, the consistency, to be relevant every year when we were just fighting to say, man, we're over here doing this thing. Man, it's special to see because we all knew we had talent. We just weren't getting the same respect as they were just to our little cousins to the west of us, like in the Pac-10. And we were beating those teams. Now, we lost a few of them, but we were beating those teams in the Pac-10. We were beating teams in the old SWAC, I think it was called, like TCUs and all them, and all these conferences and teams that are supposed to be better than Kansas and Kansas State. We were beating all these schools, and we weren't getting the games, some of the big games. We were kind of that school, like, you don't want to – we can mess up your ranking if we beat you, and you're supposed to beat us. And so we weren't getting those games. I know Chris Hill, the old AD, and a couple of people, they really were trying to push for us to these big games. And we did the best we could. We were getting Kansas. They were a top 20 team that year. We played schools like that. But to see the evolution, man, from Mac, who got that thing started, to Urban, to now Witt. Man, it's been special to watch.
It really has been quite the evolution, man. When it comes down to it, I love giving everybody the floor on this and talking about this podcast has a unique name, right? The 48-hour rule. Not everybody fully knows about what this means and what it is. You know, one, unless they listen to the pod. Two, unless, you know, they've heard some of the players in the past talk about it over the years, which isn't always as common, right? And really, it's about a culture. It's about a brotherhood kind of thing. And so you were part of the era with Mac when he was really kind of introducing this stuff. And it was pretty unique where, one, you know, you had the stuff with the kava and doing the mixers, right? So what did the 48-hour rule mean to you back then?
No, man, I think, you know, the 40-hour rule, it can be applied to so many things. And I think about, you know, playing on Saturdays and really got that time to reflect whether it was good, and I let it go. Because, you know, college life is you pretty much go Monday through Saturday. So you got after the game, you got that time to decompress on Sundays. And depending on what you were, sometimes we got massages. Mac had therapists come in that, you know, we thought we were doing big things back then, and get you a little massage, maybe some shakeouts. Some of us watch film, but really, you know, you had to go back to class on Mondays, and then you start back Monday afternoons and your thing. So it was just a time that we just took to just reflect and just whatever was happening, man, just whether it was a good day, bad day, it just time to kind of take that time for yourself. And you just know when you come back to work on Monday, except for Mac had his thing, then he had the shit, what do you call it, man? We had a little circle. If you was caught loafing and he blew that whistle till he got tired. That old man never got tired, bro. I swear. I did not want to be on that field loafing. I swear it could be an 80-yard touchdown. You see me sprint like one about 40. I was not about to get in that circle. I hate downs. I did it one time, maybe two, and that was enough. And that was his thing. That, you know, Mac was the CEO. She didn't really call plays, do a lot of game planning. He was more the CEO, oversaw everything. He was the face of the franchise, so to speak. But that was his baby, and he didn't get tired on that. I tell you that. The only time he would get somewhat gracious is if we had a big win, and that's when he would. That's when if you got caught loafing, you want to be in the circle that day. But other than that, man, I got I think twice I was in that circle. And that was my freshman year. You didn't see me again. I learned my lesson.
Cal was actually talking about the up downs about 2 weeks ago. So
and what was special about Mac, man, he was like a father figure to everybody. You know, I mean, a lot of us, like myself, come from a single parent home, man. And, you know, those gentlemen, when they came to my house and visited and whatnot, man, my mom felt good about that, especially somebody like Mac and Grace who recruited me. It was just like he had that sense of he's going to take care of you when he was there. And to me, to that point, man, that's what the whole mud thing was about, man. Just another way for him to find a way to take care of his kids, if you will, because that's kind of how he looked at us, man. We were just all his expansion of his family, him and Vicky, man. They were just like parents to all of us in a different type of way that I don't feel like players today really get that chance to relate to their coaches like we did. Man, we spent a lot of time there. I think they did the same thing, man. He spent his whole career there, and most of us nowadays with the portal and all the things that people are doing to transfer, you know, you don't get to spend that time. And coaches move, and now Kyle's not one of them, but there's a lot of coaches, they move every few years, so kids don't necessarily get that experience. And with Matt, that whole staff was pretty much there the whole time. My freshman year, we had a different quarterback and a coordinator than I had the rest of my college career. But other than that, I pretty much had the same people there with me for the 4 or 5 years that I was at Utah, man. And that was kind of special in itself because the relationships I was able to build from being a 18-year-old kid to leaving as a 22, 23-year-old man.
You know, you mentioned interesting stuff with the portal and everything and how it used to be. You know, you've obviously had your time in the NFL, and so you've seen a lot of this stuff evolve, right? was the transfer portal and the NIL, was that stuff necessary, or is that something that drives you nuts?
It's a little bit of both. I think, to answer your question, I think it drives me nuts because I think we're no longer talking about amateur athletics, we're talking professional athletes. And I think that's what it needs to be treated as. If it will continue to trend it is, you start with contracts and things of that nature because it's getting out of hand, especially the money that's moving. But I do think there's some sense of necessity because all this money that's going around collegiate sports, specifically football, and now the Power Four conferences, the almost billions of dollars that those conferences generate through the playoffs, through the conference games, the championship games, their TV contracts, all that, and the players get none of that. Like, we weren't supposed to get a ride from our coach's home because it was a violation. So I think there's a balance in that and how they do it. I think contracts would maybe kind of curve some of this movement that we're seeing and things like that. The other part of it that I like is there's guys that are hesitant to leave school early when they may not have the talent or the experience that thought, oh, I had a good year, I'm coming out my junior year. But we're not seeing that as much. Guys extending their stay a little bit more than they did before. But I still believe the way it is now is going to crumble at some point. And what I mean by that is the smaller schools that don't have an NIL package or an endowment program or something to compete and build these monumental facilities and things like that, and continue to pay the price that some of these players are demanding without the contracts to say, hey, I'll give you that money, but you're going to be here for 3 years, that sort of thing, then it's going to eventually crumble. You know, we're hearing quarterbacks getting in excess of $7.5, $8 million now in college. Like, why would I leave early? You know, I can just go from one school to the next and get the same check. And so, to me, that's where they need to start thinking. It's no longer amateur athletics. We're talking about professional athletes now. And some of these guys are making more than some of the pros and haven't played a down in a professional setting yet. And I don't think, you know, and then they get there and then guess what? It's a lot different. You know, it's a lot different. You actually got to earn your daggone check in the pros, bro. You know, and so every week, every day, because NFL, the acronym is not National Football League. It's not for long for a reason. And if you don't progress, get better, and go on to the next one real quick. And I see a lot of these guys getting money that, man, I don't necessarily see them really deserving of it, in my opinion. Some of them they're okay, they're decent. They're not special to be getting $7, $8, $9, $10 million. I'm like, and no offense, man. I hate to draw. I'm not gonna throw names out here because it's a podcast, but I've seen quarterbacks going from school to school, and the money they're getting, and they're a 6, 7 draft pick, if that. You know, my dude who went from Clemson to Oregon State to Florida State, how much money did he get, and where is he now?
Right. I don't
he
even
did
know
the right thing.
I don't know if he's on a practice
squad. He did absolutely the right thing.
Yeah. You know, and then you look at somebody.
I say that.
Yeah. Then you look at somebody like Nico Amalave, or I probably totally butchered the last name, right?
That's what I was thinking of, but I didn't want to throw him under the bus.
Right. You know, I'll throw him
That's
under the bus.
Thinking of. I didn't want to throw him under the bus.
Yeah, I'll throw him under the bus. I don't care. I mean,
throw his dad. Hold on, Alex. Let me throw my poly card out there. Let me throw his dad underneath the bus, and I'll call him his dad out because really, I mean, it's a sad thing. But you know, to Kevin's point, like you know, seeing it, you know, it's just like, man, these guys are now professional athletes at 18, 19 years old. And they have to make these kind of big boy decisions. They've never had these kind of scenarios pop up, and unfortunately, if they get the wrong influences in their ear, you know, it can spiral into these kind of situations. Unfortunately, and so I fully agree with what Kevin's saying. Like, there needs to be guardrails. Like Zack had some great points on a couple weeks back. But yeah, you know, I'm there with you.
want to start kicking it in for everybody in just a second here. I want to bring Zack in a second, but some of the stuff that you're talking about, I want you to kind of update everybody on what's been going on for you the last few years. You're kind of talking about, building your legacy out in the Tennessee area and everything, and why it's so important to you. I know you've been in education for the last little while, so I think it's awesome what you're doing, man. And I know everybody's going to want to hear this.
Well, man, being a first-round draft pick, I think there's expectations come with that. Not necessarily just even for myself, but not necessarily just for me. There was some expectations came with that, and I fell short of the injuries that I had in my career a lot sooner than my talent I would say even warranted. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Because I tore my knee and my hamstring and my Achilles. And so I'm 30 years old, and that's a young age. And I'm trying to figure out, do I keep chasing a dream? And I was honestly, man, just being real, I was tired. And we were talking off air with Zack and rehabbing and getting back right to keep fighting, keep playing. And man, I just got tired of the process of every offseason. I was rehabbing and surgeries and everything else, and I lost a little bit of that love for a little bit. At the same time, it's, as I said before, it's a not for long opportunity, so you want to do it as long as you can. So I went back and forth with that whole that back and forth with should I, should not, retire, keep going. I finally landed on retirement at 30 years old, and I like to believe I was prepared in the sense that I saved money. But what I didn't understand, and I wish I'd have done better as a young man, is prepare myself when I was retired. I think I was always ready. I said in my head, let me get to that second contract, not my first one, my second one, and then I will set myself up for when I retire, because I'll be closer to that retirement age. In my head, I want to retire about 35. And that put me about 10, 11 years in the league, 12 years I think it would have put me at. And that was kind of my number. And I got to 30. And so from there, man, I chased a dream about coaching. I talked to Whittingham a little bit. I talked to a couple other schools. It just never materialized. And I figured I needed to do something. So I started working in secondary education, coaching, started teaching. I loved the coaching aspect of it. I even enjoyed teaching for the most part. And then, man, I just got this sense of like learning. I went back to school. I learned some stuff new, man. I was like, okay, this is kind of cool, man. As a kid, school was just an afterthought. I just wanted to play ball, play football, play basketball. It was it. School was just kind of secondary. Even though I got decent grades in college and in high school, it was just me doing what I need to do to make sure I was eligible to play on both levels. And so when I got into that, I went back to school several times, man, and found out I had a passion for learning. And then I started moving up the ranks as far as secondary education is concerned. I was a coach and athletic director, then assistant principal, then became a principal. And I have been a principal for the past 7.5 years, almost 8 years. And then this past summer, man, I resigned. I haven't retired yet. I resigned. I had an opportunity to start my own charter school. And basically, I get to develop a school from the ground up in my image. And I say that in the sense that a school that I would have enjoyed probably going to school as a young man if this kind of school was there. And it's a school that's going to be centered around athletics, the curriculum, the career and technical pathways centered around opportunities for jobs in sports, whether it be broadcasting, TV film production, physical therapy, just to name a few opportunities, sports business management, things of that nature. That'll be kind of the core curriculum. And then we want to build some nice sports teams. So you got to raise a lot of money like that. So that's what I'm in right now. I'm doing the application process, trying to raise funds and trying to build something nice, man. You mentioned the word legacy, man. I think, being a part of two of the most memorable plays in NFL history, not Super Bowl, not just Super Bowl, but NFL history. I think I've cemented a legacy in that way, in the sense that people still talk about me 25 years after the fact from that standpoint. So this is something that, can last beyond that. You build a school, the brick and mortar, if you do it right, it's something that can last for decades. And my name will always be on the wall as a founder. And that to me is that special to be able to do something like that and leave a lasting legacy in the city of Nashville.
What's your target on wanting to be able to have this up and running and then at a certain point going smooth?
Right now, shooting for August 2027. That's the beginning of the school year. We start August here, the first part of August out here. So August 2027 is the target, man. I think I'll get my application and things in place over the next several months. And then I'll start filling out for grants and fundraising and donations and all that stuff, man. All the stuff that I hate doing. I used to hate people plucking me for, like, hey, can you donate to this? And now I got to be that guy for that kind of stuff. But so that's a little humbling, little flipping of my role. But at the same time, I was thinking about it, man. When you think about it, when people ask for money, it was for investments or other opportunities. This is for kids, and every dollar that I raise is going to go to benefit whatever kid walks through that building. Whenever I find a building, that too. But yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at with it, man. And it's a unique opportunity that several professional athletes have done before in various ways. Whether it be Derek, Jalen Rose, LeBron has dabbled in it. A couple other people have done different versions of this and have been successful. But my pocket's not deep as LeBron's for sure. Not too many people's are. So he put a lot of his own money towards it, and so he didn't have to go shake trees and knock on doors and that kind of thing. He was able to just kind of front his thing with his money that he has, and then he has all the support of like Nike and Beats and all the different things. So it's just a little different feel. Really started from the ground up, and really relying on the community and your network, and trying to build something special for kids from 27 and beyond, from 2027 and beyond.
I want to bring Derek and Zack into this. Sorry to keep you guys waiting here a little bit. When Kevin gets talking, it's easy to just get going with him because he's just such a great role model for so many people, within the Utah community and just Tennessee community and just everything in general, right? And just everything he's experienced. Kevin, you talk about being a part of two of the greatest plays in NFL history. One went your way, one unfortunately didn't, right? But same time too, you're part of one of the greatest plays and one of the greatest. You happen to be the guy that got in the right spot to be able to catch that ball, and that was big in and of itself as being a freshman, right? But I still don't know how McCoy was able to get rid of that ball is one of the greatest plays in Utah history, and it's I still I can watch that play endlessly. And I still can't figure it out. Zack, Derek, I know I sent that over to you guys. Zack, did you have a chance to be able to watch that play and see McCoy going down and somehow getting that ball off to Kevin?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, that was a wild play for sure. Like, it was crazy. But like, he's been a part of a lot of magical plays. That's all you can say, really.
And this is the first time you guys are actually sitting back and like meeting and talking face to face. That's crazy to me.
What's crazy is Zack has been here. I don't know how many times playing with Colts and Bills as well, right?
Yeah.
And I seen him here, and I watched him play. Then I talked about him on radio, and I would always give him a shout out. Go Utes! I do that to everybody. We got Barton here now. He's on the middle linebacker, captain on the team, and never got a chance. Every time I get to the game, and I don't like bothering people in the game. Only person I really went up to once, a few times was Eric Weddle. Me and him spoke a lot when he came in town and played, but for the most part, man, I try not to bother guys, man. But but it's cool to see people like Zack and Eric and all the other ones now, Jalen and some of the other cats balling in the league and just running the University of Utah, because they were so far and few when I was coming up, and then I like to say that from really Luther Ellis to myself, we kind of started that trend where they started some town over there. And then you start seeing it would be like one or two, then it went 1 or 2 to like 3 or 4 of us. Then it was like 5 or 6, and then you get them years you get like 8 and 9 guys drafted, and that's so or opportunities, and so that's been special to watch, man. The talent that has come through, guys that have really and got to the league and had very good, successful careers. Maybe not Hall of Fame careers, but very, very successful, long careers. And it's hard to do, man. People think it's easy because players make it look easy, but it's hard to do.
You mentioned the Hall of Fame stuff, right? And I'm curious, all three of your takes on this, okay? You mentioned Weddle. Who gets in the Hall of Fame first? Eric Weddle or Steve Smith?
That's a good one.
Ooh.
That's a good one.
Ooh. And, Steve, homie, so I talk to him a lot. He played with my brothers. I'm going to go with Steve. Here's why. It's an offensive league right now. And, with Sterling Sharp just going in, and he only played 7 years in the NFL. And he played in a time when Jerry Rice was over on the other side, leading the league in catches and yards every year, dang year. And I don't even know if he ever did. Steve has a triple crown. Neither one of them have a Super Bowl win. I think Steve has more Pro Bowls.
Weddle has a Super Bowl ring.
Not to take anything from Sterling Sharp, because he was one of my favorites to watch back then. And Weddle has a Super Bowl ring. But I think it's an offensive league. Steve is very vocal. He gets in slightly. I slightly get him the nod before Weddle, but Weddle gets in too, I think.
Zach, Eric, who would you guys go with? Who gets in first out of
those?
They're both going to get in.
Yeah, I gotta go Steve for sure. I think obviously it is an offensive heavy league. So receivers are definitely gonna get that nod probably a little bit more right now. Plus Steve was the guy on his team. Like, he was a catalyst that took him, Delahome and 2 backs they had as well. So I think when you think about that, like being the guy too, it's different when you're on defense a little bit, unless you're like a Ray Lewis or an Ed Reed type of a guy like that. Weddle was really, really good for a long time, but maybe he wasn't Ed Reed, right, or something like that. When I'm thinking of like just a catalyst, like being, like one of those guys that everybody's counting on. When I pay for my ticket, that's the guy I'm looking for to make almost every single play when it's time for that play to be made. And Steve did that in a lot of different ways. Like, he was kind of like an AB before AB, like, starting the special team stuff and then becoming that guy, being a small body receiver and doing what he did. So, and then the personality too. You can't leave out the personality. Weddle was always a quieter guy. The personality matters. Obviously we see it matters because when T.O. was trying to get in, right, the personality mattered big time. I think everybody loves Steve's personality though. So I think that's going to help him a lot as well. But I mean, we'll see. When I was in Indy, Reggie Wayne was our receiver coach, and he's still there right now. And I think the one thing that hurt him a little bit when I really think about it and look at it, because he got all the numbers, he got all the, Super Bowl ring and, playing on the other side of Marvin. It's the personality. He wasn't never really a big personality guy. Like, the personality never kind of shined. He always just kind of showed up as one of those guys that come do his work and go home. So I think Steve with the personality plus the numbers, Triple Crown, and being one of those guys that led a team to the Super Bowl outside of playing the Patriots, you probably win that Super Bowl.
He actually turned down playing for the Patriots.
And I was on that team.
Too. What year was that?
03? Maybe.
It was 03. I was on that team. I was on that roster with Steve. I was on the Panthers that year.
Yeah, that's right. I was going to say
Super Bowl 38.
I remember that a little bit. Yeah. How many years did you play for the Panthers?
Super Bowl 38.
Okay.
Just that year. One.
Okay.
And I tore my Achilles in the offseason.
Oh. Wait, before or after?
Before. So
before the season.
I'm not sure before the season, but I ended up coming back and played from the mid-season-ish, like October through the playoff run.
Okay.
They brought me in. Steve at that time was just a return man. He was learning to be a starting receiver. So I thought they were bringing me in not only to mentor him, but for him to back me up, because they had Muhsin Muhammad and they just signed Ricky Prohl. But then I got hurt. And they had me playing all the positions, all three. I guess I'm trying to figure out this pretty good receiving core. Had me, Muhsin Muhammad, Ricky Prohl, and Steve Smith. And so that was your four. And then how are you going to use those four? Then I got hurt. And then Steve just flourished. He found a quarterback that trusted him. He wouldn't make plays like he does. And his confidence never wavered. And he just grew from there, just blossomed. His confidence grew more and more week by week. It was special to see, man, kind of be on the sidelines watching that with him, watching him grow. Just a return special teams guy to an elite number one, bona fide number one receiver.
Yeah. Man, I'm sure that Zach, Derek, I'm sure that you guys have seen the highlights from that season with Steve, but oh my gosh. I mean, you talk about Kevin, like he started kind of revolutionizing the position like right at that moment for the undersized receivers. It was insane. Like there are guys that ended up, there are guys still in that are getting shots in the league to this day because of Steve proving that he could play wide receiver in the league at that position, and that he didn't just have to be a kick returner.
It's about that man, right? He ran with a purpose. He had the meanest stiff arm anybody ever seen, man. I saw him mug a guy, like literally stiff arm him to the ground, and his head pushed his head to the ground and kept on rolling. Like Steve played with a chip on his shoulder. He could have played tailback. That's how he played. He played like he can run between tackles. That's how he played receiver. He had a fearlessness about him, man, an aggressiveness about him. And he just played like that, man. It was unique. It was a unique thing that he had. It was almost like a little syndrome. He will never do that. I think that's what it was. Man, he got a Napoleon complex. Nah, I'm just kidding. But he really did. He played with a chip on his shoulder. But yeah, he's one of my favorites to watch going through that. He's from my era, so he's one of my favorites to watch in my era.
He was fun, man. And just, yeah, I mean, mic'd up and the touchdown celebrations. I mean, ice up, son, just must see TV, like constant, man. And dude, like, I mean, so I'm trying to remember back. Yeah, you guys didn't overlap when he ended up being at the U, right? I think he was there like right after you, correct?
Played with Andre and Pat. Yeah.
Everybody talks about the Bartons and this and that, you know, just all these brother duos, the Fanos, man. I still think it's tough to beat the Dysons when everybody sits back and takes a look back at that, man. What were they kind of telling you about Steve and his personality even back then? Because look, Steve was always kind of a hothead, right? But I mean, he didn't really kind of break out attitude and personality wise until he hit the league.
So Fred Graves was a receiver coach, and I was in the league at the time. He asked me to come back and speak to him, and he listened, but also had his own agenda. I think he had a mission. He was on a mission, man. He was one of the best return men in the country already. He was averaging 20 yards a catch as a receiver. He was an explosive player, and I liked him. But I remember season, and he was talking mess to everybody. They're doing one-on-ones or something. He just, Steve liked to talk. And I knew my brother was one of the best corners in the country. He was ranked high. He went second round himself. And so I knew kind of time, because me and him worked. He was one reason I like coming home. I can work with my older brother because I knew he worked, and he studied the game. He studied me, so he knew me well. So I had to be on my business to get open with him and do stuff. But anyway, and so I told Steve, man, try that one. Try him. And I was talking about my brother. And I think that play, my brother got the best of him. And then they went back and forth. But that was Steve, though. And that was my brother. My brother wanted to make sure Steve didn't beat him. Steve was like, I'm going to beat you because I'm the best out here. And it was fun to watch him. But my point was, I saw this young kid talking, and he beat people he was supposed to beat. Now to go against this kid who could be a first round, second round pick, ended up being a second round pick. How do you look? And I had two brothers there at the same time. Patrick he didn't get drafted, but he started. He was a all conference kick returner himself. And he played DB as well. And so, it was 2-on-1 in a lot of respects. But I think Steve had a lot of respect for the Dyson family just because of the accomplishments. We had two of the three of us went to the league and had pretty good careers. And then, of course, what he's been able to accomplish, man. He's like my little brother now in a lot of respects, man, because I got to spend that time with him in 2003 and just watch him grow as a young man. But yeah, man, he was a special kid, man. When I say special, I mean, you talk about somebody that just came with a chip on their shoulder, and he never let that chip off. He still has it. He'll tell you, he still has that chip on his shoulder, man. He feels like he still got a lot of growth. Now he's doing the golf thing. I don't know if y'all seen him. Now he's doing the whole golf thing. So he plays golf. He plays football. So
plays golf, plays football, and then commentates and tries to fire up the guys, and
Yep.
So,
he's gonna talk to you the whole time, talk mess to you.
So I think the last big one he got into was it. Who's the guy that played the wide receiver for the Broncos? I can't remember. That thought pretty highly of himself.
DB for the Broncos.
No, the wide receiver, and then I think they got into it on the sideline, and oh god.
Judy, Jerry.
Jerry Judy. That's right. That's right.
Judy. Yeah.
So
yeah,
that was funny because Judy's from my.
Steve told me about that situation. That was a young kid being sensitive.
Yeah.
That was just a young guy being a little bit sensitive, But I get it.
That's awesome.
Man. You don't want a veteran, a Hall of Famer telling you ain't doing what you're supposed to do. I get it.
Hey, he picked up his game after that. So Steve did him a favor, all right? Didn't he, Zach?
Yeah, that was funny because me and Judy played on the same 707 teams growing up. We both from being down there in Miami. So like that was funny when I seen it because I know how Judy is, and like I felt like when the response happened, I just knew where it came from. It was like Judy was like number one receiver, one of the best receivers coming out of high school, right? And then he went to Alabama, and he was hella good at Bama, right? And then he got to the league, and things just moved real slow for him. Like it had never really clicked really fast. So, like especially like being from Miami, so you already in the back of your own mind, like, yo, I gotta go out here and go crazy. So then when Steve hit him with that, he probably was like, that was probably like the last one. Especially because like you said, like it's a Hall of Fame dude, talk about you on national TV. You like, hold on, man. So now that was funny, but I was happy to see him get up out of that situation, and now he's doing a little better over there in Cleveland. So that was good.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So yeah, no, that those words of encouragement, if that's what you want to call it, they did him good, man. But Derek, I think. You'd say Steve before Weddle on the Hall of Fame?
Yeah. The funniest clip that I've seen was like I think it was NFL Films where Steve went back to Carolina when he was done, and then he was talking to Cam about like fantasy football, and then he's like, I'm trying to figure out who I'm gonna play a receiver, and then he's like, should I play this dude? It's the rookie sitting right next to him. And then, he's like, I'll put him at flex, and just disrespecting right in front of Cam. Cam's trying to have his receivers back. And then, Steve just saying, if you don't score points, I'm going to slap the shit out of you. And I was like, that is the GOAT comment right there. Like, if that is not the GOAT Steve Smith, I don't know what would be it, So, yeah, I'd love to see Steve in, and I think it's deserved.
So I'm gonna go different from you guys on it, Ken. It's just because the history of wide receivers in the Hall of Fame. I think that Sterling getting in kind of helps some of those guys get over the hump, and it moves a little bit faster now. Steve could very well be in the next year or two. I'm gonna give the nod to Weddle on this because one, he was part of the 2010 All-Decade team, okay, and his story on coming back, where I don't think everybody understands how unique that story was, where he literally gets a call and they're like, hey, you got 15 plays a game in you. yeah, I got it. Like I'm ready. You know me, I'm always ready. Then all of a sudden he plays like one game, and then next thing you know, he's starting on a team that ends up winning the Super Bowl. Plays the Super Bowl after the first series with a torn pec. Right? So hey, Steve can give me one of his Jerry Judy lectures. I love the guy. He's always been good to me when we've been talking. I'm gonna go different from you guys on it, and I'm gonna go with Weddle. So we'll see who all's right. I'm probably gonna be the one that's wrong, but both of them. Hey, both of them are going to be getting in within the next 5 to 10 years, and that's going to be a fun time for Ute fans and Ute alumni. We're going to kick into Texas. The Texas Tech game here in just a second, and want to kind of talk about some things, just kind of piggybacking off that as well. Got my drink of kava for the week, so Kevin, we always got to do this, man, with it being the 48-hour rule and the kava mixers being so central to everything. Somebody's always got to have a glass of kava. So gonna cheers on everybody on this, and then kick into while I'm drinking this. Yep, exactly, man. But want to kick into Texas Tech, and when it comes down to it, a lot's been made about night games and day games at the U. Okay. It just hits different. I want to hear from everybody, just how maybe more difficult the day games were for you guys to get up for as opposed to the night ones.
First, me, man, like the difference in your body is vastly different, especially in Utah when it's cold in October, November, and there's always game jitters the night before. You don't sleep solid. At least I didn't sleep solid. You'd be up, you're thinking, you're looking at your playbooks. So I always like night games, so I can get like an afternoon nap or late morning nap in after I ate before the game, just get more rest. So that was always a big difference. But the atmosphere from when I was there to what these gentlemen got to experience, man, is vastly different. It wasn't rocking like it is now, bro. That's something special, man. When you go watching the crowd and seeing how they inspire players, they just kind of feed off of one another, man. It's one of the best places I've been in. I'm in the SEC country. They got a lot of fans, but they don't have a student section like we got. Not every spot, not every one of them. And so that's really cool. But from a memory standpoint, there's a few games that come to mind. It was our comeback win against Air Force. I had the game-winning touchdown that game. But one of my favorite games was I was a role player. I was a starter, but we had 4 receivers, so you could count me a starter or not. But it was my freshman year, and we went down to Provo, and we hadn't beat BYU, and I want to say it'd been about a decade, if not longer. I can't remember how long it had been. It was a pretty long streak. The BYU had a stronghold on the state, and we went down there, man, and fought and got that last-minute field goal, 34-31, man. They went from BYU can get pretty loud with them 68,000 people, whatever it is, to almost silence, except for like the 8, 9, 10,000 of Ute fans that came. And they were so loud, like it was almost like we were in Salt Lake City. And that was my first experience with the Utah BYU game, going to high school out there and everything, man. You just instantly get this hate them up there in Provo, and then your first experience in Provo in front of all those people, knowing all the kids you went to high school with are BYU fans, man. That was something I'll never forget, man. That was special. And I was just a role player. I think I may have had I need to look. I may have had 2 catches that day, maybe 1. But so I wasn't contributing like I did later on in life, but man, that was pretty special to break that streak in Provo like the way we did.
I remember being up in the stands and getting pelted by Skittles by the BYU fans, just pissed. And I think my dad almost fought a few guys. Somebody had to pull him back. So shout out to Phil Markham. But Zach, Derek, what's some of the day games that stood out to you guys with your experiences?
Yeah, I didn't have a ton of them. I know we played a game versus Oregon one year, maybe 2016, my freshman year. Those are probably the main 2. It would have been we played a game versus Oregon my freshman year, and then we played a day game versus BYU also my freshman year, both at Rice Eccles. So that was eye-opening to me just because I think more so than ever when it's the day games, I don't know why, but like for me, I always felt like I paid attention just a little bit more to the fans. Like you feel like you can see everything a little bit differently. Like I paid a little bit more attention to the fans than the night games. Like the night games just felt like you was essentially like in a trance. Like you wasn't thinking about nothing. You just in the zone in the mode where it's like it's really nothing going on. But for the day games, I feel like I always just could feel the energy of the stadium a lot differently. So like the Oregon game we played, we lost that game. I don't know if you remember, Alex, but it was like I think it was Carrington scored the catch
that was shocking.
With 1 foot in. Like if this dude wore like a size 13, he would have been out of bounds. Like that's literally how close it was. It was in the back of the end zone, and like that game was crazy because I'm a freshman that year. I doubt
it was called incomplete at first, by the way.
Yeah, it was called incomplete at first. Correctly. But like I'm like, I don't even know if I was playing that game. Like I can't even I highly doubt I even played much because Joe Williams that came back that year. And like that was a slugfest for sure. Royce Freeman on that team and guys like that. And he makes that catch, and I'm on the sideline. Like before that play, everything is crazy loud. Like it's going nuts, right? As soon as he catch that ball and they replay it and they confirm it's a touchdown, it's like everything just went dead, right? Like it was just super, super dead, and you could feel that. And I was paying attention to it so much. And then we had a game versus BYU also, where I believe we stopped Taysom Hill on a 2-point conversion, I'm not mistaken, down in the red zone or something like that. And we ended up sneaking out of that game with a win. And like that game was crazy because we had a lot of plays. That was the first game I ever played in myself. Like as a true freshman. Like I was like, I didn't know what the hell was happening. I forgot why I even got in the game. Like I don't even know what made them point at me and say, yo, you got to get in here for X amount of time. But I know like the fourth quarter for me was big because I gained a lot of confidence. Just like being able to play really fast and just kind of also when you're going against dudes at BYU, those dudes not 19, right? 18 years old, which I didn't know going into that game. That was something I learned. That was something I learned, as the years went on. I was like, oh shit. So like that's why all this stuff hurt a little different and feel a little different, right? And you can't move dudes, right? Like it was different for sure. I had to learn about the grown man shit. I hadn't gotten that yet. But yeah, so those are like the 2 day games for me. But it is different though. Like Kevin said, like your body, your routine, everything gets thrown off. Like it's just a weird time, and especially when you're so used to playing. I think I spoke about this a couple days ago, but like when you're used to playing those night games, you get into a certain routine where all right, this one I'm finna eat, this one I'm finna watch a couple other games going on before our game. I'm hanging with the boys, you vibing, you chilling, you doing all that type of stuff. And then when you got to play a game at 1, 2 o'clock, it just hits totally different. I don't know what it is, but I always hated playing games in daytime. We had a few. My sophomore year, we got obliterated one year by Arizona State. Like they came in here and like just like shoved us in the dirt, and it was nasty. Like it was really nasty. But those day games just always felt different. But like when you play this at night, it was almost like nothing you can do. You would think we practice at night every single day. Like you would have thought we just practice at night.
So if I remember right, bro, the Arizona State game that you're talking about, Arizona State around that time was being accused of having a Stein stiller that, a little bit more in depth from what I had heard, had actually been like a military sign stiller, right? And they had employed him, and that's where you guys were getting your asses beat so bad because they knew everything that was coming.
Yeah, I had never heard that story in my life until just right now. Okay. But the way they was beating on us, it was crazy. Like that game was wild. Like I don't know why, but like we didn't beat them. We beat them my freshman year. Joe Williams ran pretty crazy over them that year. Then we came back and played them those 2 years with Snoop, and they knocked Snoop out both games. Snoop broke his it's Ribs, the 17 game at home, day game. And that was a rough one. And then he ended up breaking his collarbone the next year at Arizona State with a day game. It's like other teams got hella superpowers versus us when them day games came, but then we beat them my senior year 19 at a night game, ironically. And it wasn't really much of a match then. So I don't know. It's weird, but these guys, they kind of, being in the Big 12 now, they played in day games last year, obviously. So like that's something I'm sure like the coaches probably pay more attention to, obviously, and think about a lot more. First, like when I was there, we didn't really you can't get reps or something like that on that. It's just kind of like I don't know if the coaches know exactly what they're gonna get, right? It's not like it's we got a rain game, we play with, you practice with the wet ball, you got, crowd noise and certain things you can manufacture. You really can't manufacture the day game. So it was weird. It's weird for sure.
Yeah, I hope that last year having that experience, because when you're playing, in this conference, there's a lot more central teams, so those time slots filled up. When I think what Zach was alluded to, and especially during our years, like everything was night game because of the time differences, the conference you're in, they pushed everything to night game, and so we were always, Pac-12 after dark, and your body kind of got used to it, and I think, honestly, fans got used to it, right? Like I was thinking back on like all the big games recently, but also, 2008, you look at like TCU, Oregon State, huge home games. Those were night games. And so like, I think there was a culture of that. It'll be interesting to see how they come out, just to give the fans a little bit of rundown to Zach's point. When it hits quicker, usually that game day routine is now compacted. So instead of having like 2 meals before the game, now you're just waking up and you're going right into pregame meal and then right into meetings. And then right from meetings, usually to what Kevin said, you go take a nap or something. Now it's like meetings, go get your stuff, we're going on the bus and headed out. And so, so it'll be interesting to see how they do. I think, I think they'll be prepared for it. The spread, I got some money on this game too, and the spread's worrying me a little bit at 3.5 points. But I got faith still. We'll see how that goes on this podcast. But yeah, that's probably the insight that I would give.
It's always, and I'll let you guys. We can move on after this one, but like, what also like threw me off too was like when I playing here for 4 years. And then going back to the East Coast, right, playing the league, being in Buffalo. So all the games in the NFL, technically, unless you're a really good team that year or whatever, you playing at 1:00, right? So, like, getting up early for the games on the East Coast was crazy because I'm still, obviously kind of adjusting and stuff like that from night game, right? So, like, playing at 1, it felt like the ball looked different. Everything was just crazy different. Like, and that was something I had to like really overcome really fast because you can't go in your coach's office and be like, "Hey, coach, bro, look, I'm used to playing night games. These 1:00. You can't really say nothing about that. You got to figure it out quick, right?" So, like for me, I was like, "Oh, this is totally different because I'm not used to playing in day games, right? Like when we had Monday night games and things like that, like that was always super easy because you just kind of just fall back into something you've always done. But like getting up early, I'm not a breakfast guy. So like now you got to figure out a way to force yourself to eat something or find different supplements to give you the energy you go need to go out there and perform and stuff like that. And like that stuff was hard because it's not something that people think about. It's not something you really talk about. But it was something that was realistic for myself. Just like I was like, oh snap, we got a lot of 1:00 games. I got to figure out a way to be able to have energy. I'm not a breakfast guy. What does my routine look like? So it was like a lot of switching up stuff really, really fast. And you're talking about performing. Nobody cares if you ain't performing. And nobody want to hear all the excuses of X, Y, and Z. So that was not a culture shock, but it was a shock in itself for sure.
Yeah, that's unique, man. Dude, Derek, Remind me this. I think you were on your mission for the one game. Okay. And guys, this is a bad example for Saturday.
Oh,
Okay.
don't say it.
But
Don't say
also
it.
a perfect example. And you know exactly where I'm going with this. Derek, were you back off your mission for the TCU game when game day was in town?
No, thankfully I was gone. I got the clips and everything sent to me. I was like, "Ooh, that did not go good." But that's a great example. I have something guys have told me a little bit about that, but there's a lot to it. But that's a great example.
Kevin, I don't know if you remember this game, but I mean,
I was at that game.
Okay, yeah, big hype around it, right? Game day in town, like everybody, you fans are going into it cocky as can be. I'm sure the team was too, right? And oh man, Zach, you talk about getting put in your place in the worst way possible on national TV with everybody paying attention. Man, that game went wrong from the start. That was bad. That was so bad, and so hopefully this week
got
is
on board and drafted the quarterback. What's the quarterback?
Jordan Wynn.
What's the quarterback's name? We might got him drafted that game.
Cotton drafted Andy Dalton. It was Dalton.
Andy Dalton.
He got drafted off of that game. That game put him on the map.
Shoot, like half their team.
Yep, sure did.
They were like the ESPN top 10 should have just been just that their highlights.
I don't expect Utah to have any issues being up and being ready for this game. There's a lot riding on this, especially from Texas Tech standpoint, from Utah standpoint. Both teams are going to be ready. This is going to be such a big game for the conference. But
it's going to be a great game.
I'll be curious to know. Is it different for the fans? Because, you get up at 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, guys show up on this. You don't have time to, let's say, get to feeling warm and good, like they do by 7, 8 o'clock at night. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's even the difference. Even
beverages
from the crowd level is a little bit different, too.
Yeah.
Whatever, we're not BYU, so, I can guess I could say it.
Right. Right. Oh yeah, that's the big unknown, right? And that's something that I know fans don't like hearing it, but it has to be harped on that they need to get there early. They need to get there and be ready. You can hear the Utes players talk about it all they want, all you guys want, right? But at the same time too, it hits different when you hear the opposing fan bases and the opposing teams sit back and say, like, man, Rice Eccles, it's different at night. We don't want to play Utah at night, right? And fans have to, and fans are a big part of that. It's not just the team. I mean, the team feeds off the fans. Kevin, you talk about the muss. The muss causes opposing teams to commit false starts, delay games.
Yeah.
Those things. Zach, Eric, I mean, how important was the muss and even just the fan base in general to you guys with being that 12th man and getting some of those penalties back in the day when you guys were playing? They're huge.
Yeah, no, the muss is great, honestly. Like I'm not worried about those, the student section, because they do a great job every single year, every game. I mean, look at last year. Last year was my first time coming back to a game in 5 years. So, I come down on the field. I think you're playing Iowa State, and we're on 3rd, 4th, 5th quarterback at this time for the year, and they still are going crazy. It's not no spaces in the season. It's like everybody's still there. So, and I think the main thing is everybody's talked about this now for a while now, right? Like it's been a topic for a while, and I think fans know that they gotta show up, right, as much as the players, almost, in a sense, like, because it is a thing where everybody knows, okay, the night games, unmatched, right? But these day games, this is the new norm, essentially, being in the Big 12, right? Like the day games are the games that you're going to be playing. I mean, even if it's a 4 o'clock game, it's still a day game, right? So it's like these are the times and things that just same way that the players got to get reps and stuff like that. These are essentially reps for the fans and stuff like that. So I'm excited to go because I'll be there Saturday. So I'm excited to be there and see the atmosphere. I know everybody's gonna be ready to go. It's gonna be a big game. Like this game is not just a game where we're already 3-6 or something like that. This is a big game for conference play, and talking about doing something that these guys can go do is go win this conference. And it starts Saturday. And we talked about a lot of stuff on the recap last week, me and you, Alex, but like I really do want to see how the guys do handle this game, because it's probably the biggest game a lot of those dudes have played in. Last year you didn't play in no big games, right? Like, what game did you play in essentially that actually mattered or meant anything, right? So like this is going to be everybody's first time playing in a huge game, and we've only given praise to Beck, the OC, right, about X, Y, and Z. But like now when there's pressure, also like that's the other thing I think about. Sometimes, we've all played. Sometimes your OC, right, can kind of get, a little weird with the play calling. And they feel pressure too. They're human as well. So they're playing a game within a game essentially at the same time, just like we are. We're just doing it physically. So like all these different things we're going to see and learn a lot about these guys on Saturday, and not just our fans, but just everybody just in the whole Utah family for sure.
Yeah. I mean, you guys are talking about, the offense and everything. Kevin, what are your first thoughts on this offense and what it can do for Utah?
Man, quarterback play. That ultimately changes the dynamics on any team. Not taking away nothing from the young Wilson from last year, just whatever happened all last year, from Cam all the way down. That was just rough last year from the quarterback play. The inconsistencies, and when you got young guys around you already and your quarterback play is inconsistent, it just changes the whole dynamics. Then the pressure becomes on the defense, and then defense getting tired and frustrated because they're holding their end sometimes, and offense is struggling. And so when your quarterback is playing at a different level, I don't care where you're at. The quarterback might not be the best player on the team. We talked about Steve Smith and Carolina Panthers. Jake Delhomme was not the best player on that team by far, but he had this sense about him, this thing about him that guys just kind of rallied around and you believed in. He played at a consistent level, and I think Cam had that early on in his career. I used to compare Cam to Jake Delhomme. Like, he wasn't the most dynamic, gifted athlete or quarterback, but he had that it factor about him. And my man Devon, I think he has that it factor going for him right now, man. I think he just has that thing where guys just going to rally around him and find ways to make plays, and he's doing the same thing. He's going to make it rough on any defense. They really truly got to prepare for him, man. And I'm excited for him, man. Because we've seen some talented quarterbacks come through there, man. But when the quarterback play is good at Utah, we usually in the mix. As you can look at the history of what's going on, man. Usually when that position is solidified, we've had great running backs, as you can tell. We've had good receivers, offensive line. We still got offensive linemen in the National Football League starting across the National Football League, and tight ends. But what's the one thing we don't really have in the National Football League? Quarterbacks. And there's of course we got the couple guys playing in backups, but stars in the National Football League. But we've had some very good quarterbacks that have made substantial impacts on that community, on the school community. And man, I feel like he's right there in the mix with those guys right now.
With Texas Tech, okay, it's a very interesting team to talk about. Now I will warn everybody: Texas Tech fans like clipping things. You fans have liked clipping things too. So when it comes to saying whatever we're going to say on this, look, they're an intriguing team. Okay, they are. The oil money, who knows what's going to be going on with that? But I'm very curious to hear from all three of you guys. Is this something? I think what they're doing can be sustainable. I just don't know how fast it's going to fully click and they're going to be humming and being successful. Yes, they're 3-0 right now. What are they going to be halfway through the season, right? So that's my curiosity here. They're building it right through the trenches. I believe that because that's how Utah built their program. But do you feel like Texas Tech is the team in the program that they're all trying to pound their chest and crow and tell everybody about right now? Or is it going to take time?
I think on paper it looks really good. You know, I think they were touted as the top signing class or one of the top ones from a transfer portal perspective. They picked up, I think, 4 D linemen, 3 offensive linemen that were big gets, and they got some skill guys that could really make a difference. And so on paper, it looks very good. But also, to be fair, you know, Utah in many ways looks very good on paper right now. And, you know, I think it comes down to what Zach said earlier. There's a lot of still question marks. And so, like, this to me is the first show me game where Utah and Texas Tech have done things in the first 3 weeks. But this is the first week where I'm really excited to see, like, what's the show me completing against a full 4 quarters against a competitive team. And so I'm looking forward to seeing trench play, obviously, but also I think my biggest thing that I'm looking forward to, and I'm curious to see what Kevin and Zach also say to this, but, you know, I think we lost somebody, our deep threat. I don't know if we're good to say that, but I think
it's
out, right?
It's fine because it's out. Yeah, Zipper being, you know, for the year. Yeah.
So I'm looking at that, like, you know, looking at Wyoming. We're using our tight ends a lot as in the past. We're using Ryan Davis, the transfer that has that synergy with Devon already, which is beautiful. But, you know, he missed. I think Merriweather just got one pass to him last game, and so I'm hoping that we can send it downfield. And I think that's the link that I'm looking forward to most this game.
Yeah. Like you said, it's a show me game. Like, you know, like I've said every week, you know, when we get on here, like the UCLA game, obviously dumpster fire. We didn't want to say it, you know, right after the game or even the following week, but everybody knew it was a dumpster fire, right? And then the Cal Poly game, you know, obviously just being Cal Poly. And then the Wyoming game where they struggled a little bit versus their first real, you know, kind of a tough game in a tough environment and be on the road, right? With 3 points in the first half. Now, this is the ultimate show me game. Like, this is the game where things can go either north or south for this season really, really fast. And obviously, you know, being a little bit with losing guys and stuff like that, that's obviously going to hurt a little bit, obviously, because they've already kind of not struggled in the passing game, but we've talked about this. It's like it's not been explosive enough for the type of guy you have at quarterback because they're not sitting in too high. You know what I mean? You're getting a lot of man-on-man coverage, and we just haven't seen those dudes make those plays like down that field when you got a quarterback. And he's not really a run-first quarterback, which – he still keeps his eyes down the field. So it's like I've been, you know, yearning to see that some guys make those plays and really announce themselves in that aspect of things. But yeah, like this is the game where guys are going to, you know, have to really show who they are and what they're about. Like that's going to be the coaching staff, right? And that's going to be the players. And Texas Tech has done a lot of good things. It's Texas, right? It's, you know, they believe they are the best at everything essentially when it comes to football, right? So we're worried about Texas Tech and their social media. Imagine if we were playing Texas and what that kind of looks like, right? So like that's just a part of it. And this is a great week for our guys to go out there and really show them what the trenches look like. We've talked all year about this offensive line being so damn good. We talked about them having some really good dudes down there. And Dampier having 10 years to throw the ball and kind of just do what he wants to do. This is their first challenge. And it's going to be the same thing for our defensive line. It's like, who can, you know, really be a guy down there? We've had some dudes make some plays right now for us, and they look good. But it's time to really, really show what they have. And, I mean, like I said, I'm excited for this game because it answers a lot of questions that we've kind of had. And it answers them so fast with Texas Tech having, you know, the respect of the country at the same time. And they're coming into our house, and then you got the day game stuff going on. So it's a lot of different things in the air. And, you know, when that ball does snap, we plan on being the team that shows that when we build the trenches, we're really not building the trenches for finesse football. It's all going to be straight off of strength.
Yeah. And before I get Kevin's thoughts on it, you talking about Utah's offensive line and everything. I mean, the one area that Texas Tech really has built into a strength is their defensive line. That's going to be must-see TV. It's going to be, Derek, I'm really looking forward next week to hearing you break down the trenches. If that's something that you're even able to jump on the post game with Zach and Cal about, after that happens, it's gonna be a fun thing to talk about, because that's really going to be crucial, and that's where the game's going to be won. It doesn't matter the explosive offenses or anything like that. Really, to me, again, it's where it's going to come down to, is that's where the game's going to be won. Kevin, what are your thoughts just with everything going into this game?
Man, over the past probably 20 years, just kind of being able to sit back and be an alumni, be a fan. Aside from a handful of games, Kyle, especially at home, has showed up, whether it be USC come in, Oregon come in, other than that TCU game and maybe one other one. I'm trying to think of who it was. But for whatever reason, when it's a game of this magnitude with things to talk about, both ranked with 16, 17, whatever, Witt has some guys rolling, man. I watched all y'all do the exact same thing, and people come in, and what y'all do? Y'all destroyed them. It wasn't even close. For whatever reason, we get like 11 sacks, 3 turnovers, put up all kind of points, and he just seems to have them right, man, for big games like this, when you don't expect it. When I got to think about that Oregon game when they were supposed to come in, they were like a 2-score favorite, and we destroyed them. It wasn't even close. Same thing with USC, just last 2 or 3 years. It was kind of that same thing. They were supposed to come in and dominate. What happened? You know what I mean? So I feel like that's the kind of sense. Now again, those were night games too, though. But that's the kind of sense I'm getting, man. I think there's going to be an opportunity for Utah to again to establish themselves as a contender, maybe get into that 12-team playoff at the end of the year if they can continue to make a run in the conference play. And this is that first test, man. There's a few teams in the conference that I think Utah has to battle to win the conference, and this is that first one. And if you look at it, Texas Tech kind of last season, they're kind of in that same kind of boat as Utah. They've established themselves a little bit, and they're looking for that big win, that statement win that they need, and this is for them. You're going on the road, Salt Lake City, in a hostile environment, and it's another top tier ranked team, and you win. That can set you afoot for the rest of the season. So it's a nice little matchup for both teams.
Sure. All right, so I'm gonna ask you guys some over unders in a second, and then we'll close this out. But before I ask that, I want to get a score prediction from everybody. Zach, I think you gave it in the post game, man, but I can't remember. What do you remember what it was?
I think I said 21-17. I know it was tight.
Yeah.
When I said, yeah. So I'm gonna stay with 21-17, even though I'm not positive, but I'll stay there.
Derek,
I'll go 24-17. It'll be tight.
Cool. What are you thinking, Kevin?
I was going to say the same score, so I'll go a little bit different. I'll go 27-17.
27-17. Okay. Zach, I can't remember if I said 31-24 or if I said 31-27 on the post game, right? But I expect Utah to score 31 again, and I expect it to be a close game. My thing that I really expect it to come down to, and I know I mentioned it on the post game, is I expect Utah to seal this game with just one of their trademark long drives, with the 19-20 plays that they've been getting, where they're grinding the clock, and it's a beauty to see. That is Kyle Whittingham football at its finest, and Utah's going to show that they win the trenches in this game, by doing that to close it out and closing out the victory. So, all right, guys, a couple over unders here for us. So Texas Tech's passing offense is it's looking pretty special right now. They're averaging just under 400 yards a game. Okay. they're not going to get near that with Utah. I will flat out say that right now. But when it comes down to it, over under on them passing for 300 yards in this game. What are you guys going to go for? No need for homer takes. Let's hear it.
I'm gonna go over on the 300 passing.
I'm gonna go with the over because they won't be able to run the football.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm
Derek,
over.
what are you saying, man? Over under.
Yeah, I'm saying they're gonna try to go over, but I'll pick the different. I think our secondary will show up and keep them under. I think that'll be pivotal to me to win the game.
I'm gonna go over, and that's just because knowing that Rabbit is out for the year. That's a tough loss, you know. So Nate Ritchie's doing a good job, but there's a reason why Rabbit was starting. And you know, who else are they going to be throwing back there? Is Benny going to be getting more time, you know, at the safety spot? It's going to be really interesting to see, like, just how they compensate for that, you know. And then let's see here. Let's go. Let's do something for Devon. So I think this is the game that Devon gets 100 yards rushing. And so you guys going over or under on 100 yards rushing for Devon?
I'll go under. I think it's going to be a very, they've already showed this, but I think it's going to be a very, very well balanced game. The best Coach Witt, those guys play a great complementary football. So, you know, they're going to try to do something to make sure that they keep Texas Tech off the field as much as they can. So it's going to be a lot of, you know, controlling the ball and things of that nature. So we got two backs that have been playing really, really well. I think this is the game that either one of them take off fully and then the other one is right behind them. And obviously Devon's always going to be somewhere around 50, 60 rushing yards just because of the offensive line.
That's a fair point, man. And look, Wayshawn had a huge game against them last year. He had some big moments. So that's a very fair point. Derek, Kevin, what are you guys going to say? Over or under on the 100 yards rushing?
I say under.
Yeah, I say go with the under. I think with the injury at receiver, they're going to challenge the receivers to win. I mean, to beat the one-on-ones on the edges, sell out the stop the run. So you're going to have to throw the football to be successful. I think they're going to go under. They're going to make sure he doesn't get off.
Okay. You guys are all taking the under. I'm just going to take the over, not to go against you guys or anything like that. I actually agree with everything you guys are saying. I just think it's one of those games where, you know, Devon's a unique talent. You know, he's different, right? And you throw him in that spotlight. I feel like, you know, he's going to get the yards that Zach's talking about, but I just feel like at one point, at a crucial point in that game, Devon's going to break something big. You know, so hopefully I'm the one proving you guys wrong. I do tend to think that you guys are probably the ones taking that safer bet and being right on that. But I just think that because of the game, because of that moment, because of the type of player he is, I think this is the game that you could see a big run from him.
Yeah.
So, all right, guys. Well, we could go on and on with these over unders. I know we've been talking a bit here. I got to do a better job as a host, man. I got to start cutting these things down, but it's too fun talking to you guys. So, and Kevin, it's been great, man.
Man, great to meet you, Kevin.
So,
Yes,
Good to meet y'all, man. And man, go Utes.
Welcome to the players' lounge. Yeah, when no other moment, man, it can't compare.
Thank you so much to everybody for listening today. Please like and subscribe and stay tuned for more UteNation podcasts and coverage.